Okay, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so the goal here of what we're doing is to understand the Qayyumu'l-Asmá, uh, how to listen to it. And I have made a provisional translation, so I hope everyone is comfortable with the provisional translation, and also hopefully we can make edits to it. And hopefully that fluid state of the translation is okay for everyone. It's not necessary to know any Arabic per se, because we can we can handle the book in layers, and so that's any it isn't really necessary to have any previous knowledge of this book or any other book in particular either, because the completeness of this book, it tells us everything we need to know, and or where to go to find out what it doesn't tell us, but it does tell us everything we need to know in itself. So all we really need to do is learn how to hear the book and just you know let the book work itself. Okay.
Okay.
So today we'll begin the sacred journey into the Qayyumu'l-Asmá. I'm going to blow this up a little bit here. Can everybody see this?
A little more, please, for some of us.
More? A little bit? Okay.
Good.
That's good?
Yeah. I
Okay.
guess it is for me. Is that okay for everybody else?
Yeah. And we can take turns reading. Is there anybody who doesn't want to read? Or if we could just on maybe on the chat, you could just tell me if you want to read, and then we can make a reading list.
Well, what? Nobody said they didn't want to read, so just take turns.
Okay, yeah, we can all do that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll pretty much go through this first page, and then we can start taking turns. Okay, this is kind of the welcome page.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome, dear friends. Today we begin a sacred journey into the Qayyumu'l-Asmá, the first great revealed work of the Báb, and one of the foundational texts of the Bábí Revelation. We're not merely opening a book, but entering a world of divine language, Qur'anic mystery, prophetic return, and spiritual recognition. This work unfolds through the story of Joseph, yet it carries that story into a new revelation where the symbols of the gate, the remembrance of God, the mother book, the fire, the water, and the path all become living signs of the cause of God. Our purpose is to read slowly, reverently, and yearningly, allowing the text to teach us how it wishes to be heard. We will not rush to master it, nor reduce it to simple explanation. Rather, we will listen for its voice, trace its patterns, honor its mysteries, and seek the light it offers to the heart. Above all, we will read individually and gather together weekly to share our insights, suggest thoughtful edits to the translation, and encourage one another along the way as we embrace the revelation of the Báb. What we are studying, the Qayyumu'l-Asmá, the Báb's first major revealed work, is structured as a mystical commentary on the Quranic Súrah of Joseph, Surah 12, while its style and cadence strongly echo the Surah of Maryam, Surah 19. The official Baha'i website offers this concerning the Qayyumu'l-Asmá. Originally regarded as the Quran of the Bábís, this volume was revealed by the Báb at the start of his ministry and established his writings to be new verses from God. Baha'u'llah described the Qayyumu'l-Asmá as the first, the greatest, and mightiest of all books. How we will read it: slowly, devotionally, and structurally. Not as normal prose book, not as a simple commentary, and not as a code puzzle only. What is expected of participants? Read 4 surahs weekly, individually, and come prepared to share insights with the group. Ask honest questions, suggest thoughtful edits, and avoid rushing to final interpretations. Each week, read the assigned surahs individually, mark phrases, symbols, questions, possible translation edits, and moments that move the heart. In a group, we will share insights with humility, avoid forcing final interpretations, and treat the translation as a living provisional work under review. Sandra?
The Qayyumu'l-Asmá appears at the dawn of the age in which we live. Its author, the Bab, was Sayyid Ali Muhammad of Shiraz, a young merchant of noble lineage, outwardly modest and inwardly aflame with a claim that would soon shake the religious world of Persia. On the night of his declaration, May 23, 1844, he disclosed his station to Mullah Hussein, the first to recognize him, and revealed the opening portion of this work. From that night forward, the Qayyúmu'l-Asmá became one of the first great signs of a new revelation, a book in which the language of the Quran began to move with a new voice, a new summons, and a new divine authority.
Gwen?
The world into which this book appeared was profoundly Islamic and Quranic. Its language, imagery, rhythm, authority, and symbolic universe all arise from the world of the Quran. Its hearers knew a sacred landscape filled with prophets, divine summons, the day of resurrection, the balance, the fire, the garden, the book, the gate, the remembrance, and the return of the hidden Imam. They did not approach Revelation as a literary category or historical artifact. They listened for the voice of God, the renewal of divine guidance, and the fulfillment of promise long hidden within the sacred text. For such readers, a work that spoke in the cadence of revelation with the authority of command, warning, mercy, judgment, and unveiling could not be treated as ordinary commentary. It would be received as nothing less than apocalyptic. Ooh. Okay.
Mona, would you like to read?
Yes. The part that I have, is it the Qayyumu'l-Asmá moves through the Surah of Joseph? Is that, and the reason is because I don't see the part, the apocalyptic.
It's right here.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you so much. I'm sorry.
Yes.
The scriptural frame of the Qayyumu'l-Asmá is the Quranic Surah of Joseph. This choice itself rich with meaning. The story of Joseph is a drama of concealment and recognition. I'm sorry. Of concealment, and because can you show it to me one more time? My thing went blank. I apologize for this. Yes.
And
concealment, yes, and recognition, exile and return, beauty hidden beneath suffering, and sovereignty revealed after betrayal. Joseph is cast away by his brothers, veiled from his father, sold into Egypt, imprisoned, and finally manifested in glory. In the Báb's hands, this story becomes more than a remembered tale. It becomes a living pattern of divine disclosure. This hidden Joseph becomes a mirror for the hidden beloved. This sorrow of Jacob becomes the longing for the faithful. The brothers become figures of blindness, envy, and delayed recognition. The shirt of Joseph, the scent of Joseph, the well, the prison, the throne, and the reunion all become signs through which a new revelation announces itself.
Kayvon?
The Qayyumu'l-Asmá moves through the Surah of Joseph with the force of revelation. It is Qur'anic in form, scriptural in method, and alive with the voice of proclamation. The Bab enters the Qur'anic world and speaks from within it, allowing the story of Joseph to become a present sign of the day of return. Joseph's meaning is carried forward into a new revelation, where tafsir becomes proclamation, remembrance becomes presence, and commentary becomes divine disclosure.
Homa, would you like to read?
Didn't Mona read already?
Yes, I did.
Mary had to read.
Mary can't read, she said in the chat.
Yeah. I'll go ahead. This is why I'll read this. There's a footnote here I want to explain too. This is why the early community of Baha'is received the book as revelatory. They heard in it the voice of a manifestation, summoning the people of the Quran to recognize the promised hour. Its verses command, warn, console, unveil, and judge. They speak with divine immediacy. They call the reader into decision. They announce the Bab as the gate, the remembrance of God, and the bearer of a new divine cause. The book calls out for recognition. Now here I call the early community of Baha'is because in the historical writing, the first followers of the Bab are often called Babis, especially when speaking of the years before the public declaration of Baha'u'llah. In this study, however, we also recognize the deeper continuity of the faith from its inception. And the Bayan itself bears the name of Baha, as in the words, "By my names are ye indeed named, and we have made thee Baha'i." And this is in the Arabic Bayan in the fifth Vahid, fourth Bab. And for this reason, the terms Bábí and Baha'i should not be here read as two disconnected realities. Bábí names the first dawn of the revelation, while Baha'i names the unfolding faith in its fullness. So here I am, although the Bab has a distinct mission, the community of the Bab and Baha'u'llah is one. Sandra?
Thus, the Qayyúmu'l-Asmá stands at the threshold between the Quranic dispensation and the Baha'i revelation. It honors the Quran by speaking in its world, yet it also opens that world toward fulfillment. It gathers the story of Joseph, the hopes of Shia Islam, the expectation of the Qayyim, and the language of divine revelation into one blazing act of disclosure. To enter this book, therefore, is to enter the night of declaration itself, the moment when the hidden Joseph begins to be known, the gate is opened, and the voice of a new revelation is heard.
Brad, you muted yourself.
I'm sorry. Okay, Gwen, you can pick up from here. But this part here is just going to be a little bit about the English, about the chosen English style of the translation.
Okay. To address this nuance, this translation uses a traditional scriptural English style. The original Arabic itself is heightened, rhythmic, solemn, and saturated with Quranic resonance. A basic modern English style can make the text easier at first glance. With traditional scriptural English, allows more of the Arabic inner distinctions to remain visible. Arabic indicates to the reader whether the address is singular or plural, whether the command is directed to an individual or to a community, and whether the voice is intimate, majestic, foreboding, or universal. Modern English, the parenthesis you, hides much of this. The traditional English allows us to preserve more of what the Arabic is doing semantically without filling the text with constant notes. The key pronoun forms are thou, thee, thy, and thine for singular address, and ye, you, your, and yours for plural address. And the following table serves as a simple reader's key for recognizing these shifts as they appear in the translation.
We had some people just join. I'm gonna reshare the some of the links here that we're using for the materials
Okay.
in the chat.
Thank you. Sorry, I can't come. I can't attend the lecture, but there's something wrong, I think, in my system, or I don't know.
No, it's okay. The one link in there has the class materials that we're going over, and then another link has the website where the translation is. Okay.
Anyway, yeah, it is now. It's okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so some of the what we're talking about here is the use of the English, the thee, thous, and so Mona, do you want to pick up from here?
Yes. This matters greatly. When the text says thou, the address is singular. The verse may be speaking to the Báb, to Joseph, to the remembrance, to a single believer, or to the soul standing before God. When the text says ye, the address is plural. The verse is speaking to a group such as the people of the earth, the people of the throne, the believers, the deniers, or the communities being summoned to recognition. This distinction is not ornamental. It is one of the ways the reader follows the movement of the revelation.
Systems.
Okay, Vaughn.
The older, well,
Oh, yeah, you're right there. I'm sorry.
the older verbal forms are also intentional. Hath, doth, saith, knoweth, and summoneth are used to preserve the dignity and continuity of sacred language. They also help maintain a scriptural cadence closer to the Quranic mode of utterance. This is not meant to imitate the past for its own sake. It is meant to let the English carry reverence authority, and precision. The reader should also take careful note of titles. The Báb may speak of himself as the Gate, the Remembrance, the Most Great Word, the Arabian Youth, or by other sacred designations. These titles are not always interchangeable. Each reveals a different aspect of the station and function. The Gate emphasizes access, threshold, recognition, and passage. The Remembrance emphasizes the living presence of divine guidance and the renewal of God's Word. The Most Great Word points toward creative command, revelation, and the divine utterance by which a new world is brought forth.
Okay. Who was after Kayvon? Let's see. Rachel, do you want to read? I can pick up from here. The book often speaks in commands. Say, recite, hearken, arise, fear God, enter, behold, bear witness. These commands carry the living voice of the text, drawing the reader beyond observation and into participation. The story of Joseph becomes a drama of recognition within the very soul itself. The scene of 1844, the story of Joseph, and the experience of the early believers all begin to converge within the reader. The hidden Joseph is made manifest. The gate is opened, and the soul is brought before the question of how it will respond to the beloved when he appears. Sandra?
Because the Qayyúmu'l-Asmá is built upon the Surah of Joseph, the reader should watch for the transformation of the Joseph story. Joseph remains present as a historical and scriptural figure, while his story also becomes a pattern of progressive revelation. The hidden one is revealed. The rejected one becomes sovereign. The sorrowing father receives the scent of reunion. The brothers who failed to recognize him are brought before him. The shirt, the well, the prison, the throne, and the return all become signs of a greater unveiling.
Mona?
Yes. Brad, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Did you write this?
Yes.
Wow. Thank you very much. It's incredible. At times,
Thank you.
the meaning will seem mysterious. This is not a failure of reading. The book is intentionally dense, symbolic, and multi-layered. Some verses are clear summons. Some are devotional utterances. Some are legal or communal. Some are cosmological. Some seem to move through worlds of letters, number, color, fire, water, and divine names. The reader should not feel forced to solve every passage immediately. Often, the first task is simply to hear the voice, notice the pattern, and allow recurring symbols to reach their own language, to teach their own language.
Gwen, you want to read this last paragraph here?
Sure. Read the book aloud when possible. Its power lives in sound, rhythm, meaning, and movement. Let the repetitions gather force. Let the titles accumulate. Let the pronouns guide and address. Let the Quranic story of Joseph remain in the background as the living frame. And above all, read with the understanding that the early Baha'is did not receive this book as a literary exercise. They received it as a revelation, as a summons, as a proof, as a judgment, as a mercy, and as the opening of the gate to a new age and a new realm. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the structure of the book, and not too much in detail, but almost some of it just in how we're going to how it's going to be made to how we're going to handle it, week to week. Okay, so I might read most of this. I might read most of this section because I might stop a little bit and give a little bit clearer explanation. Okay. Okay, so because the number of surahs that the book has is equally divisible almost by 4. So and if when we do that, it gives us 28 units. So we're going to handle 4 surahs at a time, and so this is kind of the explanation of that. Okay. The Qayyumu'l-Asmá at once is a revealed ocean, a proclamation, a summons, a commentary, and a mystery. It begins in the language of the Quran, moves through the story of Joseph, and gradually reveals a new world of meaning centered upon the gate, the remembrance, the mother book, the fire, the water, the path, the word, and the day of return. To enter such a work, we need more than explanation. We need a way of reading. These study materials approach the Qayyumu'l-Asmá through 28 units. Each unit gathers 4 surahs together as one movement, except the final unit, which gathers the last 3 surahs as a crown and seal. This gives us 27 complete 4-fold movements, followed by a final 3-fold closure. The purpose of this structure is not to impose an artificial system upon the book, but to help us listen to its own rhythm. Although the Qayyumu'l-Asmá may first appear as a sequence of individual surahs, its movement is not merely linear. It unfolds in recurring waves of revelation, recognition, opposition, clarification, and return. Images appear, disappear, and reappear. Voices shift, symbols gather force. The Joseph story continues beneath the surface, but it is constantly lifted into a new revelatory register. Reading 4 surahs together allows us to hear these movements before we isolate each part. The 4-fold approach is therefore a practical aid to recognition. The first surah in a unit often opens a field. The second may intensify, oppose, or test that field. The third may disclose a deeper mystery or unveil a hidden relation. I'm sorry, just let someone else in. The fourth may gather, seal, redirect, or prepare the next movement. This pattern should not be handled mechanically. The book is alive. Some units will bend the rhythm, some will reverse it, some will conceal the turn until the very end. But reading in 4-fold units gives the group a reverent and disciplined way to follow the larger flow. This structure also gently prepares the reader for later principles in the revelation of the Báb, especially the sacred ordering that becomes more explicit in the Bayani writings. We don't need to enter those details at the outset, but it's enough to recognize that the Qayyumu'l-Asmá already trains the reader to see revelation as ordered, patterned, recursive, and alive. The book does not merely speak, it arranges, returns, mirrors, conceals, discloses, and renews. For this reason, we'll approach the text in 4 complementary ways. This is in addition to the 4 surahs here. First, we read sequentially. So we honor the outward order of the book, moving from surah to surah, from beginning to end. This allows us to follow the visible unfolding of the revelation, its proclamations, warnings, laws, symbols, implications, and final seal. Second, we'll read Josephically. Each surah opens from a verse or a moment in the story of Joseph. And this means we must ask, what moment of this Joseph story is being interpreted, transformed, or universalized here? Joseph, Jacob, the brothers, Egypt, the shirt, the well, the prison, the king, the dream, the return, the grief, the recognition, and the reunion all become mirrors of divine revelation. Third, we'll read theologically. Qayyumu'l-Asmá is not only explaining Joseph, it announces the Báb's revelation. It teaches the reader to recognize the gate, the remembrance, the most great word, the mother book, the day of resurrection, the return, the covenant, the authority of divine speech, and the danger of rejection after recognition. It's a commentary, but it is also a proclamation. Fourth, we read structurally. The book moves through pattern, number, recurrence, and sacred architecture. The fourfold unit is our first and simplest structural doorway. Later, deeper patterns may be considered, but for the beginning reader, it's enough to know that the book is not random. Its repetitions are not filler. Its recurring formulas are not merely decorative. Its symbols form a living grammar. Each unit, therefore, will begin with the whole movement of 4 surahs. Only then will we turn to the individual surahs in detail. So this protects us from losing the forest and the trees. It also helps the group read devotionally and intelligently at the same time. We're not trying to master the book from above, but we're learning to walk within it. Okay, so this next section is just a little bit about how each surah is already structured. And there is a basic structure to each surah, and although sometimes it's arranged, uniquely, but most of them are arranged in a very similar way. As we begin reading, it'll help to visualize the shape of the book. The Qayyumu'l-Asmá moves through the Quranic story of Joseph in an ordered manner, with each surah opening from a verse drawn from the Quran, Surah 12, across 111 surahs. The Joseph story becomes a path of revelation, recognition, concealment, return, and unveiling. The basic map of each surah is it opens with this. The basic map of the book. This is the whole book. The scriptural frame is the Surah of Joseph, and the book itself has 111 surahs, and each surah has 42 verses. Now, in the manuscripts that I used for the translation, there are some verses that are hard to discern. And most of the verses that were hard to discern, where I broke the verse down, I highlighted and in some colors, and we'll get into some of the colors in here just a little bit. But in the translation, there's 42 numbered verses in each surah, and the movement of the book moves sequentially through the Joseph story, and that verse from the Quran is the opening anchor of each surah, aside from Surah 1. So when we follow the story of Joseph, we'll get to see how that surah transforms into the Báb's revelation, and then how it transforms into history, and how it transforms into perhaps our modern age and our period and our faith, for sure. So the flow of the book here, okay, so opening Quranic anchor. Okay, so how I have the book broke down on the on our website here. I'm going to share this link again here, because some people have come again. So if you haven't got on this link, you can open this link, and the translation we'll be using is right here. And it's in 4 sections: the surahs 1 through 28, surahs 29 through 56, and then 57 through 84, and 85 through 111. And then there's a larger glossary here that is alphabetized by the Arabic that I used for the glossary, and then a table of contents. So even in these divisions, just breaking it down into quarters, there's a discernible theme. So we'll get into some of that when we read through it. Okay, so some about the verses we can read about. The architecture of the Qayyumu'l-Asmá also appears in the shape of its individual verses. The Bab repeatedly cast the verses in a style that mirrors the Quranic pattern of Surah 19, the Surah of Maryam, where its many verses close with a resonant final word in the accusative form. This creates a solemn, rhythmic ending, almost like a seal placed upon the verse. In the Qayyumu'l-Asmá, this pattern appears throughout virtually the entire book, again and again. Each verse moves toward a final noun or adjective that gathers the verse into a closing cadence. The final words often carry the emotional or theological force of the verse: warning, mercy, authority, nearness, remoteness, glory, judgment, concealment, or unveiling. For this reason, the translation highlights these verse seals in crimson. The color is a visual guide. It helps the reader see the repeated structure, hear the rhythm more clearly, and recognize how the verse closes upon a final sacred emphasis. So in the Arabic, there's each verse closes with a rhyming word, and in the translation, I have made this word crimson. So in each verse, you can see how the verse ends in the Arabic. Some other colors that I used. Crimson marks the final verse seals, the closing words that carried much of the rhythm. Green marks direct quotes from Quranic quotations. Now, the first quarter I have very well referenced to the Quran. The other three sections I haven't fully referenced, even though there may be some verses that are there that are green. They may not have the references to them. And we can go through as we go through this and make more references. And then the gold words are used to highlight the phrases and special endings in places where the manuscript's numbered verses divisions are unclear. And the translator supplied a working structure for the reading. These colors are guides and not barriers. They help the reader see the Quranic frame, the repeated cadence, and the places where the text itself requires careful attention. Okay, and in these materials here is a short glossary, and this is a good opening glossary for the book. It has basic terms in it, and you can just keep it handy. Okay, so we're going to get into reading some of the verses now. I want to open. We can go here. Okay, so here is the translation, and Sandra, do you want to start? If you don't mind, read verses 1 through 7.
Okay. Surah of Kingship, comprising 42 verses, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praise belongeth unto God, who hath revealed the book unto his devoted servant, in very truth, that it might shine as a blazing lamp upon all the worlds. Lo, this is the path enjoined upon me by thy Lord, in very truth, perfectly straight within the mother book, according to the upright truth. Yea, verily, it is sublime within the mother book that is with us, and according to the most great truth, it hath ever been with the most gracious, full of wisdom. Yea, verily, it is the truth from God, according to the most pure faith, inscribed within the mother book. Lo, this is indeed the true path of God throughout the heavens and the earth. Whosoever willeth, let them in all sincerity follow this pathway unto God. Verily, this is the upright faith, and sufficient is God, and whosoever is with him that hath knowledge of the book to serve as a witness.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that was just a small sample and the opening of the Qayyumu'l-Asmá. And one thing I want to take note is because of the color scheme that I used, these opening 7 verses quote heavily from the Quran. And we can see the references that's just up to verse 7 here. Okay. And then, and just in particular in this surah, the next 2 verses are unique in that there's only one phrase that's quoted from the Quran, and then it shifts into some type of genealogy. So I'm going to read verses 8 and 9. Verily, this is indeed the truth, in accordance with the most great word from God, the everlasting, in very truth, raised from the midst of the fire. Yea, verily, this is the mystery throughout the heavens and the earth, chronicled within the mother book, according to the prime command, in very truth, by the leave of God, the most exalted. And then in verses 10 and 11, it explains a little bit about the book, the purpose of the book, and that genealogy of the hidden imam. Okay. Verse 10, God hath ordained that this book commence as an interpretation of the most beautiful of stories, conveyed from Muhammad, son of Hassan, son of Ali, son of Muhammad, son of Ali, son of Musa, son of Jafar, son of Muhammad, son of Ali, son of Hussein, son of Ali, son of Abu Talib, that it might serve as an eloquent proof of God unto all the worlds from the remembrance. Okay, so as we can already see, there's a little bit of introduction, some quoting verses from the Quran, and then the most beautiful of stories is the Súrah of Joseph. Okay, and well, if we have that here in the title of the book is the Asanu Kasas. It's the most beautiful stories, and it is called in Surah in verse 3 of the Surah 12. It is referred to as the most beautiful stories. Okay, Gwen, would you like to read?
Sure. Muhammad, son of Ali. Is that
Yeah,
where?
I'm sorry, right here at verse 11.
At verse 11. Okay.
And you can read through 14.
Okay. I bear witness unto God, as he had borne witness unto his own self, that he is indeed the true one. There is none other God except him. And the angels and those endowed with knowledge stand faithfully around the remembrance. There is none other God except him. And God is ever knowledgeable of all things. Verily, the most pure faith of this remembrance is Salim. Whosoever, therefore, yearneth after Islam, let them submit unto his cause, that God may inscribe their name within the book of the righteous as a Muslim, and number them amongst those who stand firm upon the most pure faith, praiseworthy in very truth. For God shall never accept the deeds of one who rejected Islam on the day of resurrection. Not in any way, shape, or form. Is that where I stop?
Go ahead and finish 14.
And it is the right of God to scorch them with the most wondrous fire of God, according to the statutes of the book, determined by the decree of the boss, in accordance with the truth.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so as we can see, there's a already in the text there's a flow to it. We're gonna skip to the end real quick. Okay, so I want to show you how I want to show you address to some of the people of the earth real quick here. Let's see. Mona, would you like to read verses 40 through 42? We're right here.
Oh, thank you. O people of the earth, whosoever obeyeth the remembrance of God and his book hath in very truth obeyed God and his loved ones, and shall indeed in the time to come be recorded amongst the people of the garden of Rezvan in the presence of God. Verily, we indeed caused the mountains to tremble upon the earth and the stars to orbit over the throne around the fire within the vortex of the water through the manifestation of the remembrance by the power of the one true God. And none amongst you, not a single one, shall be left behind. He verily is the omnipotent. He verily is the omnipotent authority over his devoted servants. For he, God, is ever knowledgeable of all things.
Thank you. Okay, now I want to skip ahead to a later surah, and just to give an idea of some of the changes.
Can I ask a question real
Sure.
quick, actually,
Sure.
from the glossary?
Yeah.
Can you just go over like I see most exalted remembrance, most great remembrance, and then remembrance.
Yes. Yes. In fact, let me find a reference here that will maybe even have them in the same surah, and then see. See. Okay. Well, let's go forward. Okay, so this comes from Surah 23. Okay. And then her question was, in the I suppose it come from the glossary. And the glossary, there's the most great remembrance and the most exalted remembrance. And then there are references to just the remembrance. And there are a couple other ones. The most mighty remembrance is how I translate it, and maybe the most magnificent remembrance. And but let's read real quick here. Kayvon, would you like to read
Or from where? From the
let's see. Try from 16.
okay.
Really, maybe it should be 15. Try 15, because here begins the address. So this is sometimes too where if you find yourself in the book The way I made the translation is all one easy read paragraph. I didn't make any sections, but there are plenty of addresses that you can find and say like we're trying to get down here to where we're looking for the most exalted remembrance. And it begins right here with an address or with an oath. I swear by your Lord. So start right here and then we'll work our way down here.
Okay. I swear by your Lord, were ye to learn through the knowledge of the Bab, for your own sakes, ye would behold the blazing fire which hath indeed, in accordance with the truth, enveloped yourselves. You would then verily bear witness unto the truth with absolute certainty, according to the knowledge proceeding from the source of certainty. Even as the sun at its zenith abideth in the midst of heaven. And verily those who rush forth by our leave, as befitteth the truth, have indeed encompassed the water with a mighty clamor. And verily those who storm forth by the statue of the expressions within the mother book have indeed burst forth from the water with a mighty stroke. And verily humanity in very truth hath indeed been gathered in the presence of God, your cherished Lord, around the water. And verily those desiring the life of this world in very truth have indeed been cast into the fire. Doth not the most gracious know the turmoil that lurketh beneath the breasts? On the contrary, the most exalted remembrance from God announceth unto you the day of resurrection in very truth, for God is ever knowledgeable of all things.
Okay. So you can see another oath that begins here in verse 24. So you could extend maybe this whole section into these 8 verses, whatnot, and maybe this could include, how in many authorized translations that you see as a whole paragraph, and you just see one number there, and you don't see numbered verses. Okay, this could be a case like that. And where in this translation, I've tried to be very very close to the Arabic and not really for any other reason than to make it easy to edit. Okay, so we'll be able to search and find things. I've tried to, there's a lot of repetitions, a lot of phrases that get repeated that you'll find in the glossary, and you may find redundant in the translation. And they're that way, like this, in accordance with the truth, words like this, and in very truth, and things like that. And I've tried to keep them consistent so that, later on they can be edited quickly, they could be found and whatnot. But to get back to the main question, was the most exalted remembrance here. The best way to look at that would be to contrast it with the most great remembrance, which we could do so here. Let's see. Would anybody like to volunteer to read this?
Well, I was going to ask a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so when he's talking about the most great remembrance, the exalted remembrance, the remembrance,
Yeah,
I mean, who is he talking about? God or?
that's the question I'm answering.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was the example of the most exalted remembrance. And then here is example of the most great remembrance. If you want to read this, just read this one verse, verse
Okay.
23.
O solace of mine, I appraise the pure Fatima from amongst the people of thine house, within the town of the most gracious, of the sacred journey unto the Holy Land during this magnificent year, as permitted for the most great remembrance. But none from his household who are nigh unto that most great gate are aware, in very truth, of what is implicit within the knowledge of God. And they impart unto the people but a small portion of the knowledge of the book. Is that
Okay, perfect. Okay, this is a great example to explain this thing. So, okay, so this surah is about the relatives of the Bab. Okay, it's the surah. It's the last surah in this section, and is the surah of the relatives. So this was given right before the Bab goes on his pilgrimage, which is being made here, the sacred journey to the Holy Land. And that's what when the Bab completed the Qayyumu'l-Asmá, he and Qudus and a servant went on their pilgrimage. And so this apprised the pure Fatima from amongst the people of thine house is referring to his wife of his pilgrimage. Okay, so he's being instructed to inform his wife he's going to go on pilgrimage. And it says, as permitted for the most great remembrance. Okay, so the Bab is the most great remembrance.
okay?
But it's difficult, and I warn against making hard identifications like that, only for the sense that all the manifestations are the most great remembrance. All of them are the most exalted remembrance. But it's easier to see it in the sense of time and in the time of the revelation being given. The most great remembrance is the current remembrance from the perspective of this book. And the most exalted remembrance is the remembrance that's on the horizon ahead. So without making a hard identification to say that's Baha'u'llah, the most exalted remembrance is Baha'u'llah. And the most great remembrance is the Bab. Okay?
Mm.
And that would make the most mighty remembrance Muhammad, or the remembrance in general, the revelation in any sense. And in the Quran, Muhammad is referred to as the remembrance. So this is definitely a feature of the book. But like I said, though, it's difficult to make hard, identifications with things. But if we make them relative in time and place, then I think it's okay, because we don't want to lose ourselves in the book. We have to stay conscious and aware of our present conditions. But definitely okay, so let's go to the glossary here real quick. Okay, so it's in these class materials that I sent. It's on page it would be on page 10. And you can see the remembrance here. It's in Arabic, the remembrance is the thicker. And it's just like saying Allahu Akbar. We hear Muslims say Allahu Akbar. They're repeating it thicker. So remembrance of God. And they say it because anytime someone says something that's great, they say, no, Allah is greater. Allahu Akbar. And the most great remembrance is the Dhikrul Akbar. So it's the central title of the Bab and the Qayyumu'l-Asmá. The remembrance is not simply memory, because that's what it means to remember, but it's the living presence of God's renewed word. Okay, so it's bringing to remembrance. Now, the most great remembrance is the remembrance in its supreme present station. It's a heightened title of the Bab. It emphasizes majesty, authority, and the direct presence of the revelation now appearing. And in this case, it's the Qayyumu'l-Asmá. The most, this is something that happens in Holy Scripture a lot. We get lost in time and we forget who's being addressed. We forget the audience. We get lost in the audience and we think he's addressing me, or he's addressing my community, or this and that. So you have to put your, you really have to get the context right and things. But in most cases, the most exalted remembrance is a title that carries a higher and lifted forward-looking resonance. So it may point toward the unfolding of the revelation beyond its first dawn. So in some case, it could be still the Bab, but at a later time. Okay. So that's why I say it would be hard to make a hard identification with Baha'u'llah for this being specific, although it is the case is definitely, it's definitely valid. So that many of the repeated phrases that we just read through, like the fire, the command, the cause. The command and the cause are a lot of times the same word in Arabic, and the context dictates whether it's about the faith being pushed forward, or more if it's a direct command. And there's the most great truth. The word truth appears in this book almost, thousands of times.
Mm.
So, and it's in phrases that are stylistic, like in accordance with the truth. But sometimes it'll be in accordance with the most great truth. And in a lot of those cases where it's just stylistic, I have left truth lowercase. But when it's attached to like the word Akbar, where we're doing like for the most great remembrance, where it's most great, then I have capitalized it and tried to heighten it some. The translation definitely needs editing and consistency. So just have to be patient with it. It's a good read. I wanted to come back to the first surah again before we finished. We read through verses 14. Then there's from picking up in this surah from verses 15. There's some kind of poetic testimonial type verses, and then it addresses the kings particular. And in this section, there is an authorized translation and the selections of the writings of the Bab. And for the purpose of our sessions, I have a side-by-side version that I want to. This is the version that we'll be editing. And in this version, I have all the I will have all the authorized translated verses with the English. And I didn't use those for my translation because I wanted the translation to be my voice throughout the whole thing. And so I didn't even use them to learn to translate, to double check or anything, until here just recently, and until I started integrating them into the side-by-side translation. So hopefully we can integrate and learn from those as well. But a lot of what is translated to the kings from this surah is in the authorized translation. And we can read it right here. We can read right 21 through 25. We'll go back here and we can read this version. It's easy. This is the easier reader's version. Mona, would you like to read?
Yes. So 22, you said?
21. Actually, you know what? 21. Start at 21, and you can read down to 20 through 25.
Through 25. Okay. So I'm just trying to bring it down.
I'll move it down here. We'll take a little break. I'll move it down for you.
Thank you so much. O assemblage of kings and sons of kings, disavow your claim on the kingship of God, each one of you, amiably and with the utmost sincerity. O King of all Muslims, sincerely aid in addition sincerely aid, yes, in addition to the book, our most great remembrance. For verily God hath delegated unto thee and unto those who loyally stand beside thee upon the path during the resurrection an esteemed position of responsibility as befitteth the truth. O King, I swear by the one true God, shouldst thou be hostile unto the remembrance, God shall assuredly judge against thee with the fire upon the day of resurrection. Sorry. Resurrection and esteemed position. Let me go back. God.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
No,
God
no problem.
hath delegated unto thee and unto those who loyally stand beside thee upon the path during the resurrection an esteemed position of responsibility as befitteth the truth. O King, I swear by the one true God, shouldst thou be hostile unto the remembrance, God shall assuredly judge against thee with a fire upon the day of resurrection in the presence of all the kings, and thou shalt find no comforter that day save God, the most exalted, as befitteth the truth. O King, purify the holy land of those who deny the book. Purify the holy land of those who deny the book, ere the day cometh when the remembrance shall appear suddenly by the leave of God, the most exalted, unyielding in the bold command. Verily God hath charged thee to submit unto the remembrance and his command, and to subdue the land in very truth by the leave of God. For in this world thou hast been honored with kingship, and in the time to come thou shalt be accounted in very truth as a dweller amongst the people of the garden of Rezvan around the holy sanctuary. Brad, I think I shouldn't read anymore because my screen, I'm doing it on the phone and my screen is small. I don't want to ruin the...
No, that's okay. I think we're about done reading anyway, because I just want to give a little further sample of this surah here, and then we can have a discussion. Kayvon, you want to pick up right here?
Sure, from where? 26?
We're at 26 and go down through 33.
Sorry, Brad, which
Yeah.
surah are we in?
We're in Surah 1 right now. We went back to Surah.
Surah 1. Okay.
I'm sorry. I skipped ahead just to kind of to give a little brief explanation and show some.
Yes.
But we came back here to the first Surah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So we're at where was that? 26?
26. All right. O King, let not kingship mislead thee, for verily every soul shall taste of death. This is by the very essence of the truth, inscribed amongst the written decrees of God. And be content with the decision of the one true God, for verily kingship is inscribed within the mother book regarding the cause of the remembrance, in very truth belongeth in the hands of God. And render assistance unto God through your very own selves and your swords within the shade of this most great remembrance. for the sake of this pure faith, by the very essence of the truth, with all available strength. O minister of the King, fear God, he beside whom there is none other God except him, the true one, the just, and revoke thy claim on kingship, for verily we shall inherit the earth, and whosoever dwelleth thereon, by the leave of God, the wise. Verily he is ever a witness of thee, in very truth, and of the King. Yea, verily, we have guaranteed by the leave of God, for your own selves, should ye aid the remembrance with pure intentions, that ye shall possess a mighty kingship during the resurrection within the Garden of Eden, as befitteth the truth. But your kingship is vanity, and God hath left the enjoyment of this world unto the heedless. Yet verily, with God, thy cherished Lord, is a beautiful return, which is, by the very essence of the truth, immemorial. And indeed unto us belongeth a most noble kingship within the garden of eternity. We grant it unto whomsoever we will amongst our devoted servants, and to those who render assistance as befitteth the truth, and to God with his verses through this gate. Did you want me to read 34 as well? I forget.
Yeah. No, we can stop there. We can stop there. Does everyone have a pretty good idea about what we're looking at?
Yeah, this is very interesting because, knowing that Baha'u'llah wrote all of those tablets to the kings and rulers,
Mm-hmm.
and even in the next surah, it says to take this to Turkey and India.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if the Bab is writing specifically to the Shah in this, or do we know?
Yes, because he up here he addresses, "O King of all Muslims." I'm sorry. Let's see, where is this? "O
Oh,
King of
okay.
all Muslims."
Yeah.
And the Bab would address the Shah of Persia as the king of all Muslims over the Ottoman Caliph.
Oh, interesting, because it's Shia versus Sunni.
Right. So he would still be the king of kings,
Oh,
Shah and
interesting.
Shah.
So he's the king of all Muslims, both sects.
Well, yes.
Okay.
The Bab is Shia. He comes from Shia background, so he
Right.
would see his king as being the king of the Sunnis too,
Okay.
even though the Sunnis have their own, the structure of Islam has changed radically over the last 100 years. So we can get into some of that. We would definitely get into the history and structure of Islam through this, because this first section, this first quarter, the first 28 surahs is going to bring us from from history all the way to our current time, and in the story of Joseph. So we would definitely get into that. I have a few things here. Let's see.
So I have a question real quick.
Yes.
So by next Tuesday, we need to independently read surahs 1 through 4.
Yes, 1 through 4. And then we're gonna go over these again. That's why I'm not really too concerned about reading through these right now. Or in this one. I just want to get familiar with the language a little bit, and with the colors, mostly with the colors. If y'all can see how the red sticks out, and the green. The greens are specifically Quran verses, and most of them are labeled here.
And the red is what?
The red words are the words that end in the Arabic. They end a verse. Okay, so see how even though if you don't know Arabic, you can see how every verse ends with this little two line mark.
Uh,
Can you see that?
yeah.
Okay, so that's it's it's an accusative case. It's marking a particular type of word that is modifying a phrase in the verse. And so it's a poetic cadence. And so the word in red marks the final word of each verse. Okay? And sometimes the verse will have two of those inside the verse. Like here, there's a word here, and also here. This is verse 22. So we go to verse 22, and you'll see, well, I didn't hit that one. Some of them I didn't get, but all the ending, all the last ones are there. Okay. But let's see if there's
And you said in the Arabic they rhyme.
in the rhyme, they rhyme, yes. And this is in the same style as as I was saying earlier in the materials we read earlier as the Surah of Mary. So if you read the Quran, you can get a translation. Uh, we can see that the same style of words at the end of each verse. Okay. So if I was color coding this surah, these words would be red. And in here, and in this particular verse, this word right here would be red. To inherit me and inherit from the house of Jacob and make him my Lord pleasing. And that's this word here, radiyah, which our word rizvan comes from. Pleasing, and we translate as well pleasing. And this is about, John the Baptist, Zechariah wanting to have a son. So so the Qayyumu'l-Asmá kind of mixes Quranic tone and story, and there was one place earlier where we were reading where it was breaking down certain surahs, and it was using that word at the end, only that word at the end to interpret that Quranic verse. So the Bab is pretty tricky, and in this book, and that's why I've tried to be pretty detailed and pretty careful with trying to make them color coded, so that we can see what's being brought out in the text. And if we want, we can compare this one here. This is my translation to an authorized version. Oops. Verily
Yeah,
God
let's do that.
Yeah. Verily God had charged thee to submit unto the remembrance in his cause, and to subdue the land in very truth by the leave of God. For in this world thou hast been honored with kingship, and in the time to come thou shalt be accounted in very truth as a dweller amongst the people of the garden of Rizwan, nigh unto the holy sanctuary. And then in the authorized says, God verily hath prescribed to thee to submit unto him who is his remembrance and unto his cause. So those are pretty close. And to subdue with the truth. Now see, in the Arabic, this phrase right here, bil haq, appears over 1,000 times almost. I think it's like 800 sometimes. And I translate this in many places. Shoghi Effendi translated this phrase as in very truth. Not always, but in many places. But since this book repeats that phrase 800 something times, I wanted it to be the same everywhere. So I took this in very truth and I put it there everywhere. And in the authorized translation, he says with the truth, and it's the same It's just, and it's just, but it's so repetitive in the book. Like I said earlier too, I wanted to have it in there where it'd be easy to find and easy to edit later on. We can maybe change it up, and if we can find because it does come redundant a little bit towards the end. You can really see, because it's not the only phrase it does that with the truth. But we can find other ways of saying it to soften the English, because the English is where it's redundant. It's not redundant in Arabic. It's beautiful in the Arabic. Okay. So, but anyway, this is one way that we'll see that the authorized translation and mine may differ in mostly it will be in choice of particles. For in this world, for in this world, thou hast been honored. This has been mercifully invested, and I said honored with he said sovereignty. Now, I went through many different versions of the word mulk, and mulk is one of our months, so it's not a word that we don't know or aren't familiar with. And and ultimately, I chose kingship for this surah. And even when mulk appears later in another surah, I may use it. I may use dominion or something. But for this surah, because the subject is kingship, and the kings are addressed, and they're addressed in a very high manner. I try to keep it very, so kingship was chosen for that instead of sovereignty or dominion. And thou shalt be accounted, and wilt in the next, in truth, as a dweller amongst the people of the garden of Rizwan. And here it says, with the inmates of paradise of his good pleasure. So in some cases, in the words that we are familiar with, because of our calendar and our festivals and I try to leave those words transliterated like Rizwan. And I use Rizwan here. There might be some places where it says Rizwan, but I'm probably going to change them because it's written in Arabic, and Rizwan is the Farsi. But I'm still trying to transliterate those instead of translate the word in these cases. So there's a little bit of difference, but there's really not too much. In this verse, there's not that much difference. So, is there any other questions in particular that anyone has?
I have a question. Where your cursor is at? What is SWB?
Oh, SWB is selections from the writings of the Báb. So this one is quoted in that book. All the this version here, like I said, is the side-by-side version that we'll be editing. The one on the website won't have any of the. There's only one verse, and the whole translation I used that's in the selections from the writings of the Báb in this part, and that's the one part that was translated by Shoghi Effendi. But Shoghi Effendi didn't translate anything but one verse from this book. So there wasn't anything else. I didn't want to over-translate his writings, but the other ones I didn't use, except in this to compare. So, but weekly, whenever we meet weekly, we'll go over this side-by-side version, and I think they're available, on my drive, and we can share them. And but this will be the version that we're going to edit here. Okay. Any other questions over any of the style, or anybody want to read anything else? Everybody's okay with reading the 4 surahs a week?
Mr. Shokat, you're on mute. I think you were saying something. Your microphone is on mute.
Oh,
Now I can you hear I think you can hear me now.
Okay,
right?
yeah, I can hear you now.
What scheme in the mulk? There is in Arabic, milk and mulk, all this both same written as it. First, excuse me for my English is second language.
Uh-huh.
They are writing same, same style, but there is something. They are putting some signals that different from mulk and malik. Malik,
Yeah,
this king. That means
Malik
king.
is king, yeah.
Yeah,
But
mulk,
oh,
what is somebody owns in the world, properties or so on. Mulk, they are calling in Arabic mulk, in
yeah.
awe, mulk. Malik in Malik, that means king.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
is, it came on my mind. I wanted to.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That's very true. That and you'll see that in here where you have king. Um, well, that's plural there. But sometimes the king's addressed singularly. Let's see. Okay, right here. Right here you have Malik
Yeah, a milk and
and
mulk.
Mulk. We have
Yeah,
Malik and Mulk right next to each other. You have them both right here. And then we have king and kingship.
kingship, that's something else. Yeah,
Yeah,
milk, this is milk, yeah. And
yeah,
mulk, what owns in the world, from
yeah.
properties, wealth, and so on.
Yeah, I just particularly chose kingship for this surah mostly, but a lot of other places too is his dominion. Or even
Mm.
sovereignty. But most of the time, I use sovereignty for sultan.
Sultan, that's his degrees, I think, different from Malik.
Yeah,
Sultan, lower than Malik,
yeah,
lower level, lower than king, the
yeah.
Sultan.
That's why I
Yeah,
use sovereign for it because king is sync. Is
the
pretty
top.
particular.
King is the top.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
So when do we want to try to get back together?
Next Tuesdays is if that's all right.
Tuesdays work for me, so that's cool.
Yeah, I think best to leave it the same time each week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
next Tuesday 6:30, and about 6:45 we'll be getting started.
7:30.
Like normal.
Okay. And yeah, we'll see how many surahs we get through this first week, Brad. Hopefully we
Yeah.
get through before.
Yeah, we can spend more time reading through them next week because we won't have the introduction to go to. And really, the verses start taking off so we can start getting into the structure. This first surah is kind of, there's no Quran verse quoted from the Surah of Joseph. So it's just the Bob kind of freestyling. But he quotes so much from the Quran. And we'll get to see a pattern of his quotes.
Is there
Eventually.
anything we should look for? You know what I mean? Like it's our first time
At
reading.
first, read through the glossary, those words that you see.
Okay.
And I think just for the cadence, just try to recognize the cadence because it doesn't change.
Okay.
Okay, it's redundant. The book is redundant. I'm not going to lie. The book is redundant. If you read one surah, you've read them all. But it's beautiful. And it changes, the message changes. Like, you want to know what he's going to say about Joseph next. You know what I mean? So, but the style, it stays consistent. It stays in that, Surah Maryam style. And there's a couple other surahs that are in that style. We can go over them too. But, and it does interpret the whole Quran. So if you can get through the book with the style, with the redundant style that it has, and then you really can get an elevated understanding of the Quran. So, like a lot of, let me say it this way: for those of you who have read the Quran or familiar with the Quran, the Qayyumu'l-Asmá tells the same thing that the Quran says, but the Quran is looking up from a servant's perspective, and the Qayyumu'l-Asmá is looking down from an angelic perspective.
Mm.
So what you're seeing is a higher telling of the story, of the same story, the same thing that you're getting in the Quran, and also from the Bible too, from the story of Joseph. And if you can connect the message to the Bible, then that's great too, because it reaches down into that far. If you're familiar with it. But none of it's really necessary, to have knowledge of it, because he'd take you through the whole thing. He just takes you from it. It's just a higher perspective, a different perspective. We are all looking from different angles of things, and this is a book of older revelation. Okay, it's not new. There's nothing new in here. It's a book of older revelation from a higher perspective or a different perspective from the door, from the gate, through the gate. So it really drives that point to it. You can't ignore it.
So, Brad, do I understand it correctly that when you read the story, it is from the perspective of reading from from a human perspective, but the Bob's perspective is an interpretive perspective, interpretive of the story. Is that do I understand it correctly?
No, I wouldn't see him that way in this book. I
Mhm.
would see him as the intermediary.
What do you mean?
Like you have God on one side,
Mhm.
and then you have us on the other. Okay.
Mhm.
And then you have the Bob in between. And then you have the voice that's telling the Bob, that's talking to the Bob. See, there's not much in this. We can really enter the book and like, pick up and feel, because it goes through all our history and all our familiarity with all spiritual, okay, whether it's biblical or Islamic or whatever, right? We can find it in here and get comfortable to it. But there's that voice, it doesn't ever address us particular.
Mm.
Okay, and so that's some of the style of the English is, I really try to draw on that, and that's with the these and the thous, and so it's addressing us, but the Bob is being addressed too. So the Bob is being addressed, and then he addresses us.
Mhm.
There's not much of a direct address to us.
I see.
So is he interpreting things? Yes. Is he the interpreter? No,
Mhm.
absolutely not. He's not even he is just he's just a, um,
Like a mouthpiece.
well, it's in here, I wonder if it's in this glossary, if it made it, I don't know if it made it in this glossary. We can open up the other glossary for this part though, because it mentions it here in that surah we read, the nexus of the fire, or the vortex of the,
Mhm.
right here at the end,
Mhm.
the vortex of the water. So a vortex has a center, so it's almost like a post or a pole. In Arabic, it's a kutu. So, definitely going to need some help drawing some of these words out from people who know some Arabic. But because I use many different synonyms for this concept. Okay. but it's like the Bob stands, here, and everything moves around him.
Mhm.
So, everything, the revelation comes through him out to everything else. So he's at the center of everything, but he's just, the gate. It's just passing through him.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there's the theology of this book. I've tested it, like, because it's complete, and now I can kind of talk to the AI about it, in the whole sense, and he can check the theology of the book, and basically what's we've been derived, is that it definitely upholds the oneness of God, but what happens in a lot of books, like I feed a lot of other stuff, like The Hobbit and like Star Wars and other kind of novels, and I fed it there, and I said, well, is this close? Does this match the Bible, or does this match the Quran? And it'll come up with reasons why it doesn't, you know. All the holy books, when you're talking to it about it and you're using that same type of thing, it doesn't come up with problems with them in the same sense. Like the problems would be like the characters morph into God, or
Mhm.
God becomes this and God becomes that. But here throughout this book, whatever is declaring stays consistent from beginning to the end. There's no mixing of stations.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
And that's where you see most things fail, like any kind of Hollywood story or something like that. The hero does this, they mix stations.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's the big tell. That's the big tell. And so, but the Bob remains pure and his station throughout the whole book. So that's a very good question you ask, and it's very difficult to answer.
Thank you so much for your answer. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I wanted to say one thing I noticed was in the maybe beginning surahs, the Bab mentions the Garden of Rizwan, and that
Mhm.
was very interesting to me because I thought the Garden of Rizwan came from the time of Baha'u'llah and didn't know that it was actually the Bab.
Yeah.
So that was very curious.
Yeah. This it's actually in here quite a bit. Maybe that here could probably even find it. Okay, so this is the beginning. Okay, the other time it's in this section is in Surah. Oh, well, it's in here twice then, I guess. It's in the Surah twice. No, it's not. There's the other place. Oh, yeah, it is. It's in here twice, in verse 25 and verse 40. But it's Rizwan is mentioned many times throughout the book, and the garden specifically, and the other quarters, because this is only one quarter that I have opened here. Um, Other places as well. Oh, but sometimes too is the paradise of Rizwan, or the land of Rizwan. And this is interesting that it mentions the land of Rizwan, because in one place right here in this verse here, and this is in Surah 12. He says, we have prepared many gardens for those that have faith by the leave of God from amongst the myriads of gardens within the land of Rizwan, surrounding the house, sacred house within the threshold of the time to come. But there's one place where it mentions the land of Rizwan being blessed, because they helped the cause of the Bab. And then there's also many times of these with the people of Rizwan.
Yeah, like the Rizwan garden in Baha'u'llah's Revelation, like Baha'u'llah named that garden the Rizwan garden in Iraq and in Akka. So like, yeah, those were designations given to those areas on earth, but I think the Rizwan garden is always about paradise.
Yeah.
Is something spiritual that can be designated somewhere on earth, but that is a place in the spiritual realm.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It is in mysticism, it's a state, a condition. And in many of the ways that it's used, in fact, the example we looked at in the Quran, it uses that radiyah, and it's about John the Baptist, but this is Zechariah praying for an heir who is well pleasing, or radiyah, and any position that he would be in would be Rizwan, would be that place of pleasure. So it carries many layers of meaning, materially, spiritually. And it's all over the book. There's like I said, the Qayyumu'l-Asmá is pretty redundant. So the themes that we see repeated over and over again. And what we'll begin to see as we go through that structure that is inherent within it, and it's not singular. There's not one singular structure. If there was, it would just be the literal reading one, to read it one verse at a time, all the way from beginning to the end. But there's obviously more than one way to read it, because it invites so many different ways of reading. And it utilizes so many different aspects of the previous books of the Quran, surahs of the Quran, and mixes them up, mashes them, and then interprets them, and in ways that it's not you can't find. So this is it's a very interesting. So it'll be a very interesting read. I'm looking forward to meeting with all of y'all and discussing.
Thank you so much, Brad and Sandra.
Yes, thank you so much. It was wonderful.
All right.
All right.
Aloha, friends. See y'all next week.
Allahu Akbar.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brad, for what your effort. Thank you very much for that. I become to know many things. I wasn't knowing that. Anyway, thank you again and again, and Allah Akbar for everybody. Bye.
Allahu Akbar.
Allah Akbar.
Thank you, Brad and Sandra, for this wonderful study group. We're very excited to be a part of. I did want to say that we have to skip every other Tuesday because we have the LSA meeting. So we'll meet you guys again in 2 weeks, and
Okay.
we'll try to read on our own. That way we
Okay,
don't fall
if you
behind.
want to read all the way through 8, that'd be fine.
Surah 8.
Yeah, that's Surah 8.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Allah.
Allahu Akbar.